It starts with a sound, not a headline, the low roar of a crowd that isn't even in the stadium. You're walking past a row of Coney Island joints downtown, and every open door's got the same thing blaring from somebody's phone. Laughter. Shock. A few gasp like somebody just dropped a Hail Mary over 3 defenders. But this isn't game tape. It's Taylor Swift on a podcast, and somehow she's talking about our quarterback like he's lining up for a gladiator duel. You can almost feel the city's heartbeat hitch for a second, because Detroit doesn't get this kind of curveball fame often. It's weird. It's electric. And if you've ever stood shoulder to shoulder in Ford Field when the place is shaking so hard you can't hear the person next to you, you know once the spotlight swings our way, we don't flinch. We grin. We lean in. And if that makes you feel like something bigger's brewing, buckle in and ride with us. Because this ride's about to hit another gear. Jared Goff, cool as a late fourth quarter back shoulder dart, just shrugged it off like a guy who's seen every blitz look in. The book. Pretty crazy. Kinda cool, he said, but you know there's more under that helmet. Swift didn't just name drop him, she painted him into an NFL fever dream. Goff lining up against Josh Allen in some twisted QB showdown. Jason Kels threw gas on it, saying he wants to see our QB on defense, and the Lions social team turned it into a meme in minutes. Funny? Sure, but there's a deeper layer here. This moment just pulled Goff into the national pop culture slipstream. The kind that sneaks into living rooms that haven't cared about Detroit football since Barry hung up his cleats. And that matters. Because the guy she mentioned isn't just some game manager. He's the quarterback who dropped 30 points on San Fran in the NFC title game. Who runs Ben Johnson's precision offense like a conductor? Who's got the locker? Room's absolute trust. But here's the twist. Fame like this can be a double-edged sword. Defenses love a target, and nothing paints a bullseye faster than a QB who's suddenly everywhere. You can bet some DC out there is already thinking about dialing up disguised pressures to test Goff's poise. That means Johnson might have to crank up the pre-snap motion, work Gibbs and Montgomery in tighter pass pro looks, and maybe even shift personnel groupings to keep defenses from pinning their ears back. And if those tweaks start funneling more snaps to Jameson Williams for deep stress routes, what happens to Reynolds' role in the mid-game rhythm? It's not just strategy, it's psychology. The locker room will laugh about it, sure, but they'll also know eyes are watching, waiting for cracks. And that's when we find out if this team's built to turn a pop culture lightning strike into a playoff hammer, or if the glare blinds us before we even hit December. So, what happens when a QB built for grit gets a taste of celebrity fire? We're about to find out under the bright, unblinking lights, with the season hanging in the balance. All right, Lions, strap your chin straps, because this is where we stop being just a headline in somebody else's podcast recap and start owning the damn moment like Ford Field in a blizzard game. And I mean the kind of blizzard where you can't see the goalpost until you're standing in the end zone, grinning through the frost. The second Goff's name slipped out of Taylor Swift's mouth, it wasn't just some celebrity quip. It was like a signal flare to every rival DC in the league that our QB is now a marked man. And you better believe Ben Johnson and Dan Campbell are chewing on that like it's the last rib at a Gratiot tailgate. Picture it. The meeting rooms this week, Goff sitting there with that calm, unbothered look. While the film crew runs cut-ups of disguised blitzes from last season, Chicago's a gap mug looks. Green Bay's delayed safety creeps. And Johnson quietly slides in new hot reads, new motion packages. Because if the defense wants to test our poise, we'll test their lungs. And here's where it cuts deeper. Joan Garcia's announcement in Barcelona might be half a world away, but the Lions' own media team just ran the Swift clip with the caption, Goff in his defense era, which means they're leaning in on the joke, and every guy in the locker room knows it. That's culture currency, and in a room built on grit and inside jokes, it's rocket fuel. But the ripple effect? That spotlight can harden a locker room or fracture it. And history tells us Detroit doesn't do middle ground. We've seen what happens when the narrative turns on us. From 0 to 16's national punchlines to the heartbreak of Barry walking away. And yet, here's the wrinkle nobody's talking about. Fame like this isn't just about the QB. It trickles. It shifts perception of the whole roster. You think Amon-Ra St. Brown isn't quietly smiling at the thought of more eyes on every slant and dig he runs? You think Montgomery doesn't realize an extra national camera means an extra Pro Bowl ballot swing? That's leverage. And leverage changes how you negotiate your next deal. Now, slide to the defensive side, Aaron. Glenn's crew is watching all this too. You think they don't want a piece of that crossover hype? Suddenly that practice pick six on Goff isn't just a film room jab. It's a post-worthy moment. A way to show the world our QB iron sharpens iron against a defense that wants to be top 5 in takeaways. And here's where it tilts again. The NFC North. You think the Packers, Vikings, and Bears aren't watching this? Rival fans will laugh, sure, but gee miz. They're wondering if a media-juiced Detroit means an even bigger free agent pool next offseason. That's how the NFL works. Perception equals power. And power, in the hands of a front office with cap space and a proven system, is how you turn playoff bursts into home field runs. But let's not kid ourselves. We've been here before in different clothes. Calvin Megatron Johnson's prime. Wasted anonymity, Stafford slinging bombs in meaningless Decembers. And every time we swore the next chapter would be different. Now, the question is, do we take a fluke pop culture nod and forge it into another weapon? Or let it become the kind of distraction that chews up focus in December? Campbell's not wired to let this slip. Expect the early drives in week 1-2. Be crisp, surgical, maybe even a little flashy just to send a message. But what if that swagger backfires? What if an early turnover under the lights sends Twitter into meltdown and the national narrative flips? What if Jason Kelce's put? Goff on defense. Joke plants a seed that gets our QB asked about it every week until it grates? That's where leadership gets tested. Not in the good weeks, but in the storms. And the storm, Lions fans, might already be building on the horizon. Personally, I think this is one of those rare moments you can either ride until January or trip over by Halloween. And knowing our DNA, I'm betting we lean in, laugh about it in the film room, and then drop 40 on somebody just to shut the noise up. So tell me, are we ready to turn a podcast punchline into a playoff rally cry? Or are we about to find out just how heavy the spotlight can get in the Motor City? Keep your eyes up, Lions, because the next snap we take might be the one everybody remembers.